also saw the best of humanity. For every hand that went up asking for help, many helping hands came forward. Not every attempt was successful, but the force of the response from people across the country, from people around the world, from private and public institutions, the force and strength of the response was a remarkable demonstration of our shared humanity. We were privileged to have played a small part in this torrent of goodness that we saw across the country. Thousands of groups were formed on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, bringing millions of people together. It was, in many ways, the most powerful demonstration of the power of technology and the power of networks to really bring people together, to create connections that made a real difference to the lives of people, some of whom were friends, many were family, but most of whom were absolute strangers. The pandemic made us realize the necessity of using innovations to drive better access to healthcare and health information. In partnership with the central and state governments, not-for-profits and civic bodies, Facebook and WhatsApp rolled out digital tools for civic support on COVID-19 relief and spreading vaccine-related information. As everything around us inches towards normalcy, the big question is also this: what has the last year and a half meant? How do we learn from all the change and all the disruption? Is this the time to embrace the new? Is this the time to start painting the canvas again in new colors? As a company, we have found our answer, one that we revealed and described last month. We are scripting a new future with a new name and identity: Meta. Meta meaning beyond. It reflects our commitment to building social technologies that take us beyond what is possible today, beyond the constraints of screens, beyond the limits of distance, and towards a future where everyone can be present with one another, create new opportunities, and experience new things. This is the time when the next chapter of the internet is ready to be written. The internet of the future, the metaverse, where the physical and the digital worlds would converge, will be more immersive and engaging, creating a shared sense of space with another person and another place. We believe that social experiences will be at the heart of the metaverse. Feeling truly present with another person is the ultimate dream of technology, and Meta will help people connect, find communities, and grow businesses. A furthering of what our mission always has been. Even as we commit to investing deeply to play our part in making the metaverse come alive, and we expect this to happen over the next decade, big changes driven by technology are already happening here and now. The pandemic introduced new ways of working, of learning, of buying and selling. It changed how we spend our time and where we spend it. And it's all happening in a country where more than 700 million people are already online and tens of millions are coming online every few months. Over the next few hours, we'll give you a glimpse of some of the big changes that we are witnessing in the industries we serve, in the clients we work with, and in the partners we collaborate with. Nowhere is this change playing out more than in the field of small businesses. These businesses form the backbone of the Indian economy and are crucial to the sustainability of the massive economic recovery we have seen these last few months. Every day, we are seeing these businesses harness the power of digital technologies to grow, to empower local communities, and to create local jobs. We are deeply inspired by their ambition. Just a few days ago, we announced the creation of a center dedicated to the new Indian entrepreneur in Gurugram, whose mission will be to fuel the aspirations of millions of entrepreneurs through access to training, resources, and people. and the JioMart WhatsApp partnership, on which we have exciting announcements to make later today, is a big part of our efforts to fuel this ambition and the transformation of the 60 million small businesses in India. And today we'll spend a lot of time putting the spotlight on the remarkable rise of expression in India through short form video. Tested, piloted, and launched first in India, Reels on Instagram is at the forefront of this creative revolution. Every young person today, from Nagpur to New York, has access to a global platform to showcase their creativity and to build a following. It is increasingly the biggest stage in the world, and one where the barriers of language, location, and resources often get blown away by the sheer force and joy of creative expression. India is where the action is, and India is where the next big set of creators could come from. These are just glimpses into the many stories that will unfold at Fuel for India today. But what you will see through these stories is our excitement about India, our passion for the hundreds of millions of people from the country who use our platforms to drive big positive change, and our commitment to being an ally for a country that is at the heart of a world being transformed by technology. India remains an innovation crucible for our products and will continue to champion unique India-focused solutions like payments on WhatsApp and Reels on Instagram and Facebook. The canvas we have is vast and open to anyone who wants to dip a brush into the future, reimagine possibilities, unleash expression, and script the story of tomorrow. And for us, nothing can be more fulfilling than fueling the aspirations of 1 billion Indians. Today, you will hear many such stories of grit, passion, and purpose, all powering a new future for the country. But before that, please join me in welcoming Santosh Desai for a conversation on how India is adapting and reimagining this future. Santosh, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Santosh, if I look at the last 18 months, there's been so much change happening and so quickly. Is this one of those moments that historians will point back as pivotal in world history?
I think so. You know, if you were to think about the fact that the pandemic of this scale is quite literally a once in a century kind of a phenomenon. And it comes on the back of fundamental changes that were already happening. I mean, I do believe that every time the central medium of an era changes, at the time that, print came into being, the time that television sort of entered our lives. And now, of course, when the internet has come into our lives, something fundamental, everything changes. This is a time when we are highly connected. The world is such a different place. And for that to be disrupted in such a fundamental way, I think is something that will have a cascading effect for a long, long time to come.
I know you think about a lot of this quite deeply, and I think you talked about the big shift in the central medium and obviously the internet in this case. But how did that all look different if there was still a pandemic in the year 2020, but far fewer people around the world were online?
It would have been catastrophic. I mean, I shudder to think about it, because if you think about how, in spite of all the disruptions that we felt, how much things kept moving, how much life in a certain sense went on, it was possible to conduct business. We have come to depend on this interconnectivity so much and this mobility so much that its absence would have been crippling for the world. And I think to recover from it, we are talking about recovery now. We would possibly have been taking maybe decades to fully recover from this kind of a pandemic.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think to the point that you're making, it looks like finally different parts of the world, including India, are starting to emerge from it. We are starting to see economic recovery being strong in India. I know you spend a lot of time across the country. What are the big shifts that you're seeing in India on the back of what happened in the last 18 months, what happened in the world, and What are you seeing as people emerge out of it?
The idea of working from home, for instance, is a completely new reality. So these are not shifts that were expected or anticipated. On the other hand, I think what has really happened, if you were to ask me about what are the kind of shifts that will endure, I think a lot of those shifts were shifts that were already undercurrents, and they have become mainstream. And I think that perhaps will be the enduring legacy of the pandemic, is to have accelerated, widened and deepened some of the changes that were taking place. And I think that is likely to be the legacy going forward.
And just building on the last part that you mentioned, the deepening and the widening of the internet, it's a lot of people who've come online in India over the last couple of years. I think if you look at it over a 5-year time frame, in 2016 we had less than 50 million people who had access to good quality internet. That number is well north of 700 million today. Are you starting to see anything stand out amongst people who are new to the internet in terms of how they see the utility, in terms of some of the patterns of how they are using it? What stands out for you?
I think one of the very interesting things about these new users is the fact that what the internet does is to really equip them with a way of connecting with the world way beyond themselves. If you were to look at horizons, and opportunity horizons. In India, historically, what has happened, particularly for this set of people, is that you've had constraints on opportunity horizons of various kinds. There are geographical constraints, the fact that you cannot look beyond your immediate geography, cultural constraints, that you cannot look beyond the confines of your own culture. This is particularly true for women. Educational constraints, that if you've been educated and you have had access to a certain kind of education, you can only imagine a certain other kind of life. So you've had all these kind of opportunity, the horizons being limited. I think what the primary experience of the first time sort of convert to a good quality internet is just the explosion and the widening of all of these horizons. We use the phrase very often to say that there was a time in India where the locus of behavior tended to be samaj, society. Okay, why does this happen? Because in our part of the world this is how we behave. हमारे वहाँ ऐसे चलता है. Increasingly, when the internet comes in, it moves to samay. It becomes आजकल ये चलता है, instead of saying हमारे वहाँ ये चलता है. The fact that this is what we do nowadays, and this sense of being connected to the current whatever is happening in the world, I think this is a very powerful experience that you encounter among people who get exposed to the internet. That's what actually particularly the mobile phone as a device does, is telling individuals in so many ways that you're important, you're the center of the universe, what you like, dislike, want matters.
Santosh, I think we've always looked at any analysis about India. We've talked about how does urban look different from rural, how does large cities, how do they look different from smaller towns, regions. I'm curious, in the world that you're describing, are some of those that traditionally explain differences in the country dissipating, or are they still relevant to explain changes in behavior across the country?
I think at a certain level they are dissipating. I mean, if you were to look at our conventional models of change, how we've imagined change in India, is that you think of change as a sort of a weakening signal as it moves away from the large town. I mean, that's a fundamental mental model of how change diffuses through the country. If you were to look at, and I'm generalizing here, but smaller towns tend to have much more emphasis on creation, whereas the larger towns, you will find, particularly among the young, there is more curation, because there are more ready references, and so you define yourself through what you associate with. Whereas in the smaller town, not having that ready kind of list of references, you actually have to create those references for yourself, and so you do see that kind of a difference, and particularly, say for instance, on short video formats, that kind of it's quite dramatic, the kind of difference that you will end up seeing.
That's such a remarkable framing, curation versus creation, and I think you referenced it. We have seen this explosive rise of short form video. It's across the country. How do you explain it? How do you explain that as a form of expression? And I'm very curious, how do you explain that in the context of a country which is still young relative to other large countries, large economies? And you think about that and start wondering, where is that all headed, right? I think the distinctiveness of India, the nature of our demographics, and then this big rise of creative expression showing up in short form videos. What does all of that mean, Santosh?
No, it's actually quite fascinating. I think India has had the history of Bollywood, and that has been actually the pinnacle of self-presentation. The idea of, if you made it and if you present yourself, that really is where it's at. I think therefore that's a form in which I think this opportunity, and which is quite unprecedented if you think about the fact that, in a country where virtually for an individual to present their views of themselves was virtual, what were the avenues available? I mean, in a newspaper you would have 3 letters to the editor every day, meaning that is the sum and substance of what was possible. Or you could do a farmaish in, AIR radio. That was the only time you could express any desire of yours. Now here you have so many platforms where you can present yourself, and particularly the most powerful one being video, the sense of this affirmation of the self. I mean, it's almost like the beta testing of the self. It is almost like saying which form is the most attractive, which version of mine is the one that gets the most traction. And I think short form video becomes a way of exploring so many facets to who you are in such uninhibited ways. And I really find it quite fascinating.
Santosh, how are businesses responding to this, especially this idea of building followership, building brands? Are we seeing a fast enough response to some of the big shifts that you're describing?
I think on both sides. On the supply side, you have a whole bunch of young entrepreneurs who have ideas, who today feel that they have the platform that is available to be able to convert those ideas into brands, and so you have a huge kind of a new source of supply coming in. And on the demand side, you have a bunch of people who are much more individualistic, are looking for brands that speak their language more precisely, and which is the reason why they tune into D2C brands. And the context is the fact that it's all feeding off from content that has been created organically, where more and more it is these various new platforms and forms of communication that are actually becoming the marketing drivers. So it's a new kind of a interaction that is driving a completely different part of the market today.
So much of our conversation, Santosh, has been focused on the future, but a lot of people have lived through a lot of uncertainty and trauma in the last 18 months. Are we starting to see how this will change how they think about the future?
In a country like India, which has broadly only one direction to go, which is upwards, in general there has been a lot of hope and positivity. This is a generation that I think very strongly has believed that tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday. So we have had a mental model of the future which is an unbroken upward curve, which is the implicit mental model. I think that implicit mental model, has been, challenged.
Santosh, we have covered so many things that are happening here. Fundamentally, I think to the point that you made as well, we are a young country, we are aspirational, we believe aggressively in a more hopeful future. What does it mean that we probably are in a country more disposed towards leveraging technology and change than many other societies around the world?
I think in a country like India, where the technology has to play a much bigger role, because I think it means so much more. I mean, you have a country with people, so many people who are hemmed in by the constraints that they live in. And when you have a facility that empowers virtually every individual and gives them the capacity of dramatically moving beyond the immediate constraints and being able to imagine a completely different kind of a life, a different kind of connections, a different way of imagining your own self, I think the role that technology ends up playing is so much more significant. I mean, in that sense, India needs the technology to play that role much more than perhaps some other countries do, where there is already a certain level of growth and technology adds layers of value, but not in as fundamental a way.
Lastly, Santosh, we are celebrating India at 75 now. Over the last month or so, as a company, we have talked about how we are investing in helping build the metaverse over the next decade. But I'm curious, if we talk about India at 100, 25 years from now, what are the seeds of change that you're seeing now that you think will come into fruition a couple of decades from now, 25 years from now?
I think one aspect of the internet which I find really promising, and which I think we're just seeing early signs of it in use, is the fact how people have the ability to educate themselves, and educate not in conventional terms, but in all ways, empower themselves with new skills, with new capabilities, and how it is possible to do it on your own. I find that really the most exciting kind of a thing to look forward to in the future.
Santosh, that was a fascinating conversation. Thank you. As we look towards a future of immense possibilities, we're delighted to see how India is unleashing expression on our platforms. Let's have a look.
करने को बहुत कुछ है, बट जो सुशील घर की लड़कियां होती हैं उनके लिए कुछ ही ऑप्शंस रह जाते हैं कि वो अपना करियर, अपना फ्यूचर बना सकें।
बट जो एक चीज होती है ना दिमाग में और दिल में कि कुछ तो करना है, जो सोचा था कि हाँ बड़ा सीन करेंगे, वो बड़ा सीन करके दिखाना है, वो चीज अभी करना बाकी था।
टैलेंट कैसा भी हो, लोग सपोर्ट करते हैं उस चीज को, चाहे वो गांव से हो या शहर से हो।
The fact that I'm able to touch lives of people that I've never met is what keeps me going.
अभी कुछ लोग हैं जिनको समझ में आ रहा है कि सोशल नेटवर्क बहुत बड़ी चीज है, जहाँ से लोगों को आगे बढ़ने का रास्ता मिल रहा है, अपने टैलेंट को दर्शाने का रास्ता मिल रहा है।
अब शुरू हो चुका है और अब बढ़ते ही जाना है, रुकना नहीं है।
छोटे शहरों में लोग तो बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं, लेकिन अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ उतनी ही कम होती हैं।
मैंने कभी सोचा ही नहीं था कि मैं कभी गेमर बनूंगी, और एज अ गेमर खुद को देखना ये तो दूर दूर तक पॉसिबल ही नहीं था उस टाइम।
काम तो ऐसे हम बचपन से करते आए हुए हैं, फिर उसके बाद लॉकडाउन लग गया, लॉकडाउन के बाद हस्बैंड का भी काम छूट गया, मेरा भी छूट गया, बोर हो गए थे।
I was intrigued by cinema, especially the sci-fi genre. This inspired me to take up 3D as a skill to create things from my imagination. But I wanted to push myself further and make my creations interactive. Initially, I faced a lot of challenges with respect to the learning resources, and most of the tutorials were in Spanish, and I clearly don't understand Spanish, which further made it difficult for me to understand the tool.
बचपन से मेरा एक सीन तो बहुत ही क्लियर था कि मुझे कुछ तो करना है। मैं बचपन से सबसे कहती थी कि मुझे डांसर बनना है, पर मेरी फैमिली को ये बात बहुत ही लाइटली लगी और उन्होंने बोला,
क्यों भाई?
पढ़ाई पूरी नहीं करेंगी, डांसर बनना है।
जो तुमको बनना है बनो, जो तुमको करना है करो।
डांसर बनेंगी, डांसर।
फिर मेरे बड़े भाई ने आइडिया दिया कि ये स्ट्रीमिंग एक करियर है, इसको आप चाहो तो एज अ पार्ट टाइम जॉब आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हो, बट उसके लिए एक पीसी होना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है। पीसी आया, हमारी स्ट्रीमिंग स्टार्ट हो गई। उसके बाद फॉलोअर्स भी गेन किए एवरी डे।
तो जैसे जैसे मैं आगे बढ़ती गई, बड़ी होती गई, वैसे वैसे मेरी फ्रस्ट्रेशन और बढ़ती गई, एंगर जो है वो पन्ने पे उतरता गया, मैं लिखती गई। कुछ सालों बाद मुझे हिप हॉप की नॉलेज हुई, और जब मुझे नॉलेज हुई तो मैंने जो शब्द लिखे थे उन पे बीट ऐड की, और तब मुझे पता चला कि इसे रैप कहते हैं।
दिमाग में आया कि थोड़ा सा मैं भी अपनी तरह से ट्राई करूं। ऐसे ही कुछ भी लिपसिंग वाली वीडियो मैंने बनाकर पोस्ट कर दी, 5-6 लाइक आए, बहुत खुशी हुई। गड्डी लमगिनी वाला वीडियो था, उसको थोड़ा सा मैंने अपने तरीके से समझाने की कोशिश की और ऐसे ही हाथ पे हिला दिया गड्डी लमगिनी करके। रातों रात उस वीडियो पर 1 मिलियन 4 पॉइंट हो चुके थे। 1 मिलियन को भी मैं समझ नहीं पा रही थी कि 1 मिलियन होता क्या है।
I finally made what I thought would be a really cool effect. Clone dance is an AR effect that creates a clone of yourself and which mimics every single move that you make. But nothing happens for the next following months. But after 2 to 3 months in November, this became a worldwide trend. Everyone started using it. We got featured on Instagram's official handle. It was so crazy, I couldn't believe it. It was surreal.
हिप हॉप जो चीज है वो बेसिकली समाज में चेंज लाने के लिए ही है।
अभी ये समझ में आ रहा है कि हाँ, पेरेंट्स अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू चेंज कर रहे हैं कि हाँ मेरा बच्चा नई जगह भी जा सकता है, तो ऑप्शंस उन्होंने अपने बच्चों के लिए खोल दिए हैं।
1 साल पहले की ममता थी जो 4 दीवारी के पीछे छुपकर बैठी हुई थी। जो आज की ममता है वो लोगों से नजर मिलाकर बात करना सीख गई है। आसपास के लोगों से उनकी नजरों में अपने लिए रिस्पेक्ट देखना सीख गई हूँ।
We are extremely lucky that we have access to these technologies and platforms which allow us to create these unique identities and experiences.
जहाँ चाह है वहाँ राह है. मैंने सोचा नहीं था कि मैं ये करूँगी और इतने सारे रास्ते बन जाएंगे मेरी लाइफ में.
मेरे लिए सबसे जो इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग ये है कि मैंने मेरे पैशन को लेके खुद को फाइनेंशियली स्ट्रॉन्ग किया है. लोग बोलते हैं, एग्जाम्पल देते हैं, ये एनी है, अपने पैरों पे आज खड़ी है.
और जो फ्यूचर का सीन है, फ्यूचर अच्छा होगा. अभी तो शुरुआत है, आगे और बड़ा सीन करना है. जहां भी जाना है वहां से मचा के आना है और लोगों को खुश करके आना है. रोज की लड़ाई, तानों की सुनाई, घर वाले नहीं ये तो दुश्मन कहाए. दिन भर रोना, रात भर रोना, रोते रोते सोना और रोते रोते जगना. जगना था घर में नहीं जगाना था दुनिया को. दिल दुख था घर में देखती थी खुद को. थी मैं ऐसी जगह जिसे लोग कहे घर, थी मैं ऐसी जगह जिसे लोग कहे स्वर्ग. रोज सुबह ताने सुने लड़का न बन, लड़का न बन. नाचना बनकर, गाना बनकर, सड़क पे चलते समय नजर नीचे कर. ऐसे कपड़े न पहन, उससे बात भी न कर. अरे लड़की हुई ये सारा लड़की जैसे बन. आई रैप की ये शेरनी दहाड़ मारे सुने जो दहाड़. उसके पैर दोनों कांप जा रहे हिप हॉप के सीन में. अब लड़कियों की खौफ. अरे नाम में तनाया बोले हिप हॉप की शान. अरी तान अरी, तान अरी, तान अरी, तान अरी.
Namaste, this is Sushant Divgikar aka Rani Kohinoor. 10 years ago, we didn't know what a content creator was. And today in 2021, we are living in the golden age of expression in India. Facebook and Instagram are platforms for expression and they have something for everyone. Today I'm joined by 4 incredible creators who have not only created conversations online but have created an impact beyond it. First, we have the economically hilarious Sharan Hegre. Next, we have mental health champion Divija Bhasin. And up next, we have the girl next door. I don't know whose door, but Srishti Dikshit. And finally, the man of many characters, Vishnu Kaushal. So, let's go and meet them. Fabulous. Okay, so let's delve further into your lives because everybody wants to know how you all started. But I want to know what actually drove you to become a content creator. How did it start for you, Sharan?
So we're starting off with me. Okay, all right. So
see, it's always not always ladies first. Now the trans person decides who starts first.
Right.
Yeah.
Lucky me.
Times are changing.
Right. So I began my content creation journey about exactly a year back. Once the pandemic hit, I was doing a lot of video consumption across multiple platforms. And several creators out there who inspired me to start something of my own. And personal finance is something that I was always really, really good at. So my why is to educate the people to know at least the basic stuff about finance so they're not caught clueless. And not just the boring parts of finance, the most important things as well, which affects all of us, regardless of what you do.
I want to talk to you about the amazing stuff you do through your content. I don't know whether you realize this because I've spoken to you and you don't realize it, that you're making a change. You're actually changing perceptions of people that have gender stereotypes, that have stereotypes in general through your content. You're funny, that is one thing, but what was the shift?
So for me, it's always been having fun. That is my key motivation to do anything at all.
Right.
So when me and 2 of my brothers, we were young, we would just make stupid videos. We couldn't upload it on any platform because it was a pre-content creation time. And we kept doing that for a really long time. And in the pandemic, I just blew up. That's how it just eventually.
That's amazing. Divija, like Sharan just shared with us, finance is something that is considered boring, something that's not important, but is the most fundamental thing, as he said, because you need money for everything. But what you also need is your sanity. What drove you?
So I started in the lockdown. I was just having fun with videos, but I have a lot of opinions about things in our society which are very much connected to mental health, but nobody realizes that. Like, we only talk about depression and anxiety. We don't talk about our culture, like how we are hit as children. That is also connected to mental health, and nobody talks about it and sees it as abuse. So I started making videos like that, and since, like I said, I had a lot of opinions, some people agreed, some people didn't. But I continue to do that, and I really enjoy it. Like, I always used to get these thoughts, but I never said it out loud. But now I have a platform to do that.
And I think that that's beautiful because this platform doesn't judge.
Yeah.
So Srishti, you have been a very eclectic creator, in my opinion. I think that you've shown us so many various facets of yourself.
Thank you.
How do you think your content is educating your followers, your people?
Earlier, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to be extremely informative, politically correct, just the right kind of influence on everyone who's following me. And I was kind of putting myself on some pedestal when I thought like that. Over the last few months, I've kind of released some of that pressure from myself, and I've just decided to entertain more than anything. I'm very particular about what I say and how that would impact people, but I'm also letting go of taking on all of that responsibility, because that kind of cages me and prevents me from making content. So I'm releasing that pressure a lot, and now I'm just trying to make people laugh.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I am very biased in my content. Like, I've never claimed to be not biased, because I don't think a person can not be biased. And I think people follow me because of my opinions. It also, like, other than that, I also try to debunk myths that are out there. A lot of wrong information about mental health by people who are not professionals, but they think that they can talk about it. So yeah, that's how I try to spread awareness.
Amazing. Now coming to you, I have to tell you, like, I understand nothing about finances. And when I looked at some of your videos, I was just like, this makes sense. And why was this person not in my life ever? So what was that one piece of content that you really liked doing and actually blew up?
When I started making content, it was just me, holding the camera and saying textbook definition of finance. I tried to make it as exciting as possible with, powerful language and all that, but it just didn't work. So then what happened was my sister, who is really, really, social media savvy. I, on the other hand, used to post 3 pictures in a year. So I was not one of those kind of people. But my sister was very, very into social media. So she's, up to date with all the kinds of trends that's going on. So that first reel that I did with her was that dangerous reel. I think you guys would know that, the cup shaking thing. Yeah. And that got a million views.
Yeah.
And I honestly did not think, something like finance would blow up. When it got 10,000 views, I put a story saying, thank you so much, 10,000 views. Then it becomes 1 lakh views. And then it becomes a million views. Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
Love it, love it. My first few 100K came from some reality shows, which I'm not very proud of. But it is also very difficult for a trans person to kind of, first of all, be yourself on such a large scale in front of so many people. Yeah. But on the other hand, it has been so democratic, platforms like Instagram, social media, that really you can just put a camera in front of you and
you find your tribe.
Yeah,
so easily. You just find your people.
It was so overwhelming. Like, when I put the camera in front of me and I just sang, I thought it was so empowering. And that people were like, wow, Vishnu, when did you realize that this platform like Instagram can actually get you brand collaborations and money? When did that happen?
So I'll be very honest here. I had been creating content for so long. I stopped believing that I will become I'll do this for a living. I started doing it just for the sake of doing it, because I loved doing it. I was making whatever I wanted to make, if it took 1 month, if it took 15 days, if it took 1 day. I was just making content. And I hit 100K one day on Instagram, and I was like, and that was I hit, and I was not awake at that second. I was sleeping. Of course, Vishnu. So I woke up and I literally just started crying. Because that is the moment it just all hit me all together. Oh, I am doing it for a living. I did not realize it till then that I was doing it for a living. And then I started believing in that, oh, you know what? I am a creator now. I am just that.
So this is a question for all of you, my creators. How do you see digital platforms evolving?
The space of content has changed drastically. It's day and night. After pandemic, everything has changed. Right, short form content blew up like anything. Every platform wants to short form content.
It's great that it's evolving this way, and therefore we, I think, need more time to sink that all in.
I don't know. I just feel like it's a very dynamic space to be in because we have come from places of making 5-minute videos. Then it came down to, okay, 1-minute video. Now it is 15 seconds. But I do like the challenge of like, okay, can I get to say this thing in 10 seconds? And how would I say this? And what would be the most entertaining way to say it? Gen Z is killing it at this format.
Yes.
And they are the future.
Yes.
And they will be the taste makers. They will be deciding how and what direction this entire thing is going to go in. And I just hope that I can keep up.
Sharan, what is that one thing that you would like to, your parting words would be to younger creators?
If you do not want to do content creation as a full-time gig, content has become king right now. No matter what you do, in order to portray your skills, you need to learn how to make content to showcase yourself, even if you do not want to do it at a full-time basis. That's how you show your mark.
So I saw this in a reel, so it's not my idea, but it really stuck with me. They said that just keep doing what you want to do. People are going to judge you anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Same exact things that I have to say, and I will not be saying something new. Don't be afraid of people's judgment. They have occupied their minds with how people look at them anyway. So nobody's thinking about anybody else. They're all thinking about themselves. So just do what you want to do.
I'd say it took me a while to understand, to not think of content creation, the art of making a piece of content as means to an end, which means that if you're passionate for anything else in the world, just because some dance is trending, don't jump on that, but use that one thing that you're passionate for and use the idea of content creation, use that skill of content creation to sort of explore your passion, which is what I'm doing right now. And I personally feel a lot more happy than I ever have in a really long time.
Well, I would just like to say that someone who wouldn't believe in my capabilities, and as you very beautifully put it, that you can do multiple things and still not be judged by अरे तुमको करना क्या है. There was that one meme ना, क्या कहना क्या चाहते हो, करना क्या चाहते हो. तो मुझे बहुत कुछ करना है, and I think that platforms like Instagram, Facebook, social media allows us to explore and also put content without inhibitions. Maybe judgments will be there, but without any inhibitions. And I think that is a privilege that we have today that we probably didn't have 10 years back.
Yes.
It also gives a new lease of life. It's very empowering for some people that might not be even allowed to enter a room because of their gender, orientation, color, size, all of these characteristics. And today you see such diverse people even in the five of us. And I think that is the message that content creation is sending out loud and clear. And on that note, I would like to thank you all and say namaste, because you have to slay your meditation. Get it right. It's namaste. Thank you.
हाय, दिस इज़ इंशादा बशीर. मैं कश्मीर के एक छोटे से गांव हाजीवेरा से हूं, जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट बारामूला में है. मैं एक क्राफ्ट एंटरप्रेन्योर हूं और मैं फाउंडर हूं तुबरुक की, जो एक कश्मीरी ब्रांड है.
माई सेल्फ आदिल हुसैन खांडे, और मैं पामपुर कश्मीर में रहता हूं, और हम सैफरान ग्रोवर्स हैं यहाँ के, और सैफरान में डील करते हैं. पहले तो होता था कि हम फिजिकल मार्केट में ऐसे ही घूमते थे, लेकिन जब से पेंडेमिक आया, घूम नहीं पा रहे थे, तो फिर हमने यही सोचा कि ऑनलाइन अपना बिजनेस स्टार्ट करें. तो फिर इसके बाद हमने इंस्टाग्राम पे पेज बनाया अपनी कंपनी के नाम से, रॉयल सैफरन ट्रेडर्स.
हमारा जो गांव है यहाँ पे मोस्टली 50% ऑफ पॉपुलेशन दैट इज एसोसिएटेड विद द क्राफ्ट सेक्टर। यहाँ पे जो लेडीज है मोस्टली होम मेकर्स होती है, तो वो घर में बैठ के एम्ब्रॉयडरी भी करती है, बट उनको वो मार्केट तक पहुँचाना वो बहुत ही मुश्किल हो जाता है। मैं उनका एक जरिया बनना चाहती हूँ, इसीलिए मैं अपने क्राफ्ट्स को उसके थ्रू बेचना चाहती हूँ और लोगों को दिखाना चाहती हूँ कश्मीर का क्राफ्ट थ्रू सोशल मीडिया।
फ़ोटो उठाते हैं, वीडियोस उठाते हैं हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स के, जो हम शेयर करते हैं इंस्टाग्राम पे, व्हाट्सएप पे और फेसबुक पे, जो कि कस्टमर्स होते हैं अक्रॉस द इंडिया वो देखते हैं और उसके साथ वहीं पे ऑर्डर देते हैं।
मेरे लिए बहुत ही मतलब ये एडवांटेज है कि मैं उस व्हाट्सएप के थ्रू जब पूरे वर्ल्ड में पिक्चर्स मतलब शेयर करना, इवन अगर हमें यहाँ पे स्लो इंटरनेट चल रहा है तब भी हम शेयर कर सकते हैं पिक्चर्स। हम व्हाट्सएप के थ्रू हमारा बिजनेस कभी बंद नहीं होता है।
Say digital market, digital world is a future.
We at Seva have really experienced the positive impact that WhatsApp can have on the rural and informal sector workers. The impact was felt especially during the pandemic for our women artisans, micro businesses and entrepreneurs across India. Our partnership has been able to bring about a positive change and help women workers transform and take control of their lives and drive financial resources for their families. It was so heartening to see women entrepreneurs, women farmers and Seva members we support use WhatsApp in a variety of ways for their businesses. WhatsApp therefore is our digital ally in many ways and has helped us create an end-to-end supply chain solution for the women workers at Seva. WhatsApp has thus helped the women workers to formalize the informal sector.
Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Sandberg, the Chief Operating Officer at Meta. The video we just saw illustrates how digital tools have helped business owners across India, like farmers and craftsmen whose businesses largely depend on tourism, not just survive, but actually thrive. Now, we all know COVID has been so hard. It's a health crisis, it's an economic crisis, and it's a crisis for small business. Small businesses have been forced to adapt their business models. They've looked for new ways to reach customers, and they've shown incredible resilience over the past 18 months. For our part, Meta has doubled down on efforts to support the more than 200 million businesses who use our apps every single month. We care that people can make that shift to digital so that they can keep their businesses going. We've created new free educational resources and trainings so small businesses can easily use our tools. And we've built new tools to help businesses reach customers in a new way. I am really honored, I wish I were in person, but to be almost in a room with three very inspiring entrepreneurs who are creating economic value, but also, and importantly, driving real impact in their communities. I hope you find their stories as inspiring as I do.
Sai shared a unique problem with us that her family farm in Maharashtra has not seen profit since more than a decade.
And when we realized this problem, we thought, why don't we figure out how this can be made easy for farmer as a user for his business farming.
And that's when the idea of Bharat Agri originated. I think one of the most impactful thing that Bharat Agri is doing is that we are providing them personalized information. What we essentially do is we collect lots of information from the farm, and based on that information we give them a season-long personalized consultancy. With a very, very detailed scientific aspect, we guide them about what should they grow and how should they grow it. It covers every decision that they need to take on the farm.
When we founded Pashtush, we were the fourth generation of manufacturers of shawls and stoles. It was very challenging initially for us to scale at global level. It was very important to streamline these processes and the art of making shawls.
even though the traditional designs, they're beautiful and they're so detailed, but to make some commercial sense, they need to be in sync with what is in fashion on a day-to-day basis. For a long amount of times, the artisans in our industry were at a mercy of these wholesalers, and that's where we come in. We take products that are made by these artists and we directly connect them to consumers all around the world.
At Anvation, we basically set up decentralized food processing units in villages so that we can manufacture high quality food products, and at the same time we can empower and provide employment to rural people living in these villages.
Developing the rural economy in that sense, creating more jobs in the rural areas. So the whole ecosystem, I think, has been benefited through Anvation.
One of the crux of our platform is communication. You know, we have to make sure we are communicating in vernacular, in the most personalized form to farmers, not just advisory but the future piece, which is e-commerce.
We are now monitoring their standing crop using our satellite technology. Hundreds of kilometers away, the satellite will be monitoring your farm and the farmer gets a real-time alert on their smartphone, and then they take the action accordingly.
We've been pioneers in using digitalization as the medium where we could communicate this story to the world.
Because of Facebook, we were able to present our story in front of million people.
Facebook Live, for example, instead of going to farmer, visiting one-on-one, we started doing Facebook Live about critical topics which are very important for farmers.
Our customers were able to understand who exactly are we and why our products are very different and unique, and how, in a way, by buying these products, you can create an impact on the rural society.
And showing this directly to the end consumers, this has all sort of a different impact. The trust factor increases many folds.
Really great. Well, so nice to see you all.
Hey, hi Cheryl.
It's really nice.
Great to see you.
Thank you, all three of you, and all of you out there for joining me today. Okay, Sai, I'm going to start with you. Your work to empower Indian farmers is so inspiring. What led you to leave the corporate world to create technology solutions for farmers?
So basically, my family has been in agriculture for last many generations. But I moved to Chennai to pursue my graduation in IIT Madras. In some of the exploration trips, I realized the problem of information unavailability in rural India. Especially in agriculture, which is the main business of 70% of the Indian rural population. But farmers don't have means to get correct information or advisory. So in college itself, I decided to use my technology knowledge to solve the problems in agriculture. And I am glad that today, with the help of Facebook and WhatsApp, we can reach out to farmers with the right technologies. Today, we are working with 1.5 million Indian farmers.
Wow. That is so impressive.
Thank you so much.
Pranav, Pashtush pashminas are stunning. I used to work in India, and I would try to treat myself on each trip. Your Instagram does a wonderful job showcasing your products, and I love that you're bringing technology, Instagram, to a decades-old family business. You know, the combination of something that's so beautiful and traditional being displayed on something that's new and digital is, of course, very close to my heart. What motivated you to adopt digital, and how has this impacted your business?
So as an avid traveler myself, I found that there was a huge fascination for handmade oriental crafts, especially shawls and scarves around the world. But there were two big problems that traditional businesses like ours faced. First was that we were primarily a seasonal business whose market was limited to those brief 3 months of winter that we have in northern India. Second is that because of that seasonality, these beautiful handmade products were getting lost in an expensive string of middlemen. You see, shawls are an emotional product, especially in India. There's a whole sort of nostalgia and charm that's built into it. And there are emotions that are involved when you gift it to someone. And using Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, we're able to take that piece of art from a weaver's loom directly to someone's shoulders across the world.
That's amazing. Just amazing. Aishi, you have this very transparent farm-to-fork model for agricultural produce, which is all the rave everywhere, particularly in California. How are you able to establish yourselves? It's a crowded category with a lot of long-standing players.
That's true. So Cheryl, I think there are two aspects to it. Firstly, Anveshan is not just selling food. We are a platform for thousands of skilled rural food producers who want to connect directly with the consumers. We are showcasing their struggles and stories to the end consumers, who are now able to know who is making their food, how is it being prepared, thanks to Anveshan's traceability solution. Facebook and Instagram have turned out to be phenomenal platforms in putting these stories out in front of millions of people in the form of posts and videos. Secondly, most of the food that we consume today is highly processed. Anveshan's ethos of sticking to the roots, using traditional techniques, using long-lost Indian superfoods to make innovative food products for the modern consumer have helped strike a chord with the people.
That's awesome. So Sai, Bharat Agri reaches farmers across rural India, as you shared with us. And this is an area that's very difficult to access. I actually started my career working at the World Bank, and I've spent a lot of time in Madhya Pradesh. And so I've seen how there can be areas that are, very, very difficult to access. And I know there are areas like this all across India and all across the world. What have you done to reach farmers and establish trust?
So we spent more than 3 years building an algorithm which is finally translated to application for farmers to drive their decision making based on 50 plus parameters on real-time monitoring. So the satellite-based image processing technology which we have is one of the best developed solutions, and it can be used for small farmers as well as big farmers. So farmers are very comfortable using WhatsApp, and we also used it as one-on-one medium to talk with farmers, do video calls and advise them.
I mean, that's very close to our heart. And we talk about that all the time, democratizing access. Anyone can use it and use it for free. Well, all three, Sai, Ayushi, Pranav, thank you for sharing your stories. It's so nice, actually. I think this may be the first roundtable I've done where anyone else is in the same room. And just seeing you in the same room is actually giving me warmth in my heart. But your stories of resilience are so inspiring. We're so inspired. At Meta, at Facebook, we are deeply committed to helping small business owners like the three of you across India. We recently launched a small business loans initiative, which is enabling our small businesses to apply for business loans through third-party lenders. And we're about to launch Facebook Business Coach, which is a free-to-use, low data cost educational chatbot tool on WhatsApp. So just sharing with our audience some more of the tools that are coming your way. But to all three of you, thank you for joining us this morning. You've inspired me from all the way across the world. Keep going. Keep doing the amazing work you're doing.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Hello, I'm Sandeep Bhushan, and I lead the Meta Business Group for businesses in India. From the heartwarming stories of community impact from business growth, we now move to the transformational impact of digital access and tools on businesses themselves. Accelerated digital adoption has created completely new business models on the one hand and transformed existing businesses on the other. And at Meta, we are proud to partner businesses on these transformational journeys. These journeys extend from exploding new sectors like EdTech, where we've seen a 10x growth in conversations in 2020, to traditional businesses in fashion and beauty and others, which now use augmented reality for tryouts, for example. And that's no surprise, given 81% consumers believe that augmented reality can help bridge that gap between online and offline. We'll now hear stories of businesses in India where Meta has created meaningful impact. We'll hear from entrepreneurs creating completely new business models, and also from businesses transforming all aspects of their consumer engagement.
Pristine Care is reimagining access to quality healthcare across the country. Our mission is to ensure that every single patient in India who needs a surgery for any disease he's suffering from should be able to access it.
At QMath, we teach maths as a life skill and not just a school subject through our online platform. We drove business at scale in India and across 25 plus countries globally by leveraging Facebook's strength of global reach and discoverability.
WhatsApp for Business is one of our key mediums of communication with nearly 100% of our customers. Clear and quick communication with patients is key for pristine care, and we are super glad to have WhatsApp, which allows us to do so in a very clear manner. We will continue to transform healthcare in India, and we know that Meta Technologies will play a critical role in our discovery and growth.
These are such exciting times, and what's very heartening to see is how our customers, specifically in the health tech and the edtech sector, are using our technology, are using our programs to reach out to millions of customers. Today's digital tools allow businesses to completely reimagine their services and reimagine their business models. And as they do that, I know many more models will appear, not just from India, but from across the globe.
By using the cross-border tools on Facebook, we test for product market fit in newer geographies and drive business expansion. Nearly 70 to 75% of enrollments and revenue for QMath is now from global markets, and we have de-risked our business model significantly by not just relying on a single market.
Digital transformation is happening not just across businesses, but with hundreds of millions of consumers. We now know that across categories, more than 50% of consumers are influenced in their purchase decisions by what they see and how they interact with on digital platforms.
We are the first Indian brand to enable AR try-ons on Instagram and saw strong results with nearly 18,000 try-ons in 2 months using the augmented reality tool.
We partnered with Instagram in the first ever Hyundai's Creator Arena. This digital first marketing campaign has received a whopping 250 million plus reach and helped us connect very strongly with our customers. A large set of our consumers are now predominantly online, and to connect with them, it requires us to break the conventional approach and evolve into newer formats of communication.
Meta has been a key partner in our digital transformation. For the first time, we have used conversational marketing at scale through Messenger from Meta. We have also partnered with Meta and adopted hyperlocal solutions to drive customer walk-ins at offline retail branches.
We partnered with Meta in driving our D2C growth and created a frictionless purchase experience at every step of the consumer journey. During the pandemic, we also launched social commerce on WhatsApp and leveraged our beauty advisor ecosystem to assist consumers in the purchase process.
Businesses at every stage of growth are being discovered on our platforms. They are then using our technologies and tools to engage deeply with their consumers in India and across the world. These businesses are not just driving growth, they are transforming entire industries and creating entirely new opportunities for millions.
The word Pragati means progress or growth. For us, it's a symbol of our commitment to drive progress and to make India more inclusive for women. Hi, I'm Madhu. So we created Pragati, a program to incubate and accelerate early stage women-led nonprofits, especially those promoting women entrepreneurship or adoption of tech amongst women in India. The idea was that through this program, nonprofits are provided mentorship support by industry experts, curated trainings to build their organizational capacity and capability, and monetary grants to deliver some on-ground impact. What's fascinating is, in this process, Pragati is creating an ecosystem where not only private and public sectors are coming together, but we're knitting a cohesive unit which has non-profits, communities, beneficiaries, all aspiring for one thing, Pragati. We're confident that these organizations are going to go to become the face of India's growth story. And for us, they already are. Here is a glimpse at some of these amazing stories.
So I was born in Muzaffarnagar city. I went to boarding school when I was 6 years of age. Every time I would kind of come home for the holidays, I would see my mother very financially, emotionally dependent on my father. And this is something that would really frustrate me. So I would tell her that you're so skilled, you're amazing with your baking, your cooking. Why don't you use that to sell it on some money? But that never happened. And that's how the idea of starting Skilled Samaritan Foundation came about. Some of the biggest benefits of being part of the Pragati program, that we got access to a lot of industry mentors. We were taught how to create various assets for the organization. What we're doing has the ability or the capability to be taken to millions of users. We had really smart colleagues from the development and social entrepreneurship space, our partners Tech for Good.
When we met with the team at Sirohi, they had been struggling to develop a system that could double up as an inventory management and a client management system for them.
The fact that we work with artisans working in their homes, our system is very decentralized, the way we operate. So we needed to sort of create a tech-based, centralized system to record how many artisans are we working with, how many artisans are we onboarding, how much income are they generating on a monthly basis.
When we started Tech for Good, for us it was very important to understand what it would mean for a rural non-profit to be able to use or access technology, or how would they be able to use it in their day-to-day operation.
Then in 2020, the Meta and Nudge Pragati program was announced, and the core of it was for women-led organizations or organizations with beneficiaries who are women, and we qualified for both. So we really wanted to apply for it at that time for the funding we would get, the mentorship access we would get, and the network it would open up. These kinds of opportunity for early stage startup like ours is very rare.
I think it was a great space for us to rediscover what we do at Tech for Good, and it's also very reassuring for us that what we are doing at Tech for Good actually matters. Right now, working with 750, but our aim is going to be 3.1 million, and gratification that we got from the whole Pragati program was incredible. I think it's a very important, essential part to our journey.
At the Nudge, our goal has always been to empower non-profit organizations that work at the grassroots level and have a significant impact on local communities. Our partnership with Pragati initiative is a natural extension of what we seek to accomplish. This program in its first year helped us identify the most promising non-profits. The resounding success of Pragati in its first year has laid the foundations of an effective program that will help many more non-profits thrive in the future.
Today, the first cohort of Pragati has graduated, and we are so proud to announce the second cohort of Pragati. These are our organizations that are going to be working on a diverse range of initiatives, from supporting artisans to working on preventive health and nutrition to educating and upskilling other women. Through our partnership and mentoring, we'll enable these organizations, strengthen them, support them to create real-world impact. We hope they'll go on to build a community of future women leaders. And speaking of women leaders, it's an absolute honor to have with us here today the Honorable Minister of Women and Child Development, Government of India, Srimati Smriti Zubin Irani. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
So, ma'am, while I introduce you to the entire gathering, I missed out one bit of it, that you're also a woman who has been a technology champion. How critical do you think is technology today in development, and what role do you think it's playing, in governance and in taking forth these various aspects?
I think that I was extremely lucky, and I use that term very loosely, when I was Minister Education in 2014. When I sat down with senior bureaucrats and I said that if you want to enhance accessibility, you need to prepare your academic systems for the future and future shocks and use technology as an aid. We were anointed by the Prime Minister to ensure that every aspect of our curriculum is digitized and dedicated to the country. Then we started a portal called Swayam. And then I remember people telling me कि इस पे कौन पढ़ेगा?
Right.
सबको कॉलेज जाना है, सबको यूनिवर्सिटी का आनंद लेना है, वो जिंदगी ही कुछ अलग है.
सही.
I am happy that in hindsight today, when the pandemic hit us,
right,
these are the very instruments that ensured that our academic institutions and our academic capacities did not collapse.
Right.
And I think that is something that prepared a mindset in the country. The technology, as far as a governance tool, will make governments more accountable, will make democracy more participative, because for the first time the government proposed the MyGov platform, where bills and policies which were only heard of in Parliament or in parliamentary halls, became an everyday engagement for the citizens of our country.
No, I think that's very fascinating. You know, when you talk about the transfers, we as a platform have been very focused on small and medium businesses, and surprisingly, a large part of women who are finding their economic agency post-pandemic, their recovery and resilience on our platforms has been small and medium business owners who are women. And I know your ministry itself has a host of schemes which work towards empowering women, especially economically so. Where do you see the role of, you know, the opportunity, the woman and the entrepreneur come together on platforms like ours, and also on the, you know, backbone of technology?
When you talk about technology, it also became a leveler from perspective of financial services. The Prime Minister spoke about Jan Dhan in 2014, and in the pandemic, out of the 44 crore Indians, 440 million Indians who had a bank account open for the first time, 220 million were women.
Right.
I think that what is a cause for joy for me is that the Prime Minister insists that if it is a women's agenda, it should not be restrained only to the Women and Child Development Ministry.
Right.
That this is an agenda for every ministry.
Yes, certainly.
Mudra Yojana, when it was announced, was not announced for women.
Yep.
But one of the greatest achievements of the Mudra Yojana was that 70% of the beneficiaries were women. Now imagine in our country 17 crore 60 lakh women went up to bank branches,
right,
presented their business plan, no matter how small or how big, within the limit of 10 lakh rupees,
right,
received that loan and then paid back. If you look at the history of microfinance and women in our country, most of the loans taken are returned. Women, if they have an opportunity,
right,
they can leverage that opportunity, and on the basis of their talent,
right,
can actually emerge as entrepreneurial leaders.
No, that's true. And I don't know whether you're aware, but on Facebook itself now, we've got a scheme where small businesses which come online are going to be offered a loan, a possibility of a loan without collateral. We're doing this with a financial partner. But I completely understand your point to say that, you know, give them that agency, let them interact with the financial ecosystem without judging their capacity or capability
we are good
to
investments.
do so. Recently, you participated, your ministry participated, and you gave a call out to India to say that buy from women entrepreneurs this Diwali, this festival, Chhat, Bhai Dooj, come forth and celebrate with the women who are working so hard to create their economic capacity. We know because we are privileged enough to sort of, you know, a partner on that. I love to understand that, you know, how do you feel that mobilizing the ecosystem
I have
for
to
them?
tell people who are watching this today that in this very office, it was Madhu and I and a gentleman called Rajat Arora who sat here, thought of it in 10 minutes, thought of a hashtag in another 5 minutes.
It's true.
At absolutely no cost to anybody. And we said we want to do this because we believed in it. And I think, Madhu, it is that belief that the people of India accepted. And I think the fact that we believed that these women deserve our attention, and not because they were not selling quality wares.
Absolutely.
That's because we were not somewhere recognizing that they're just there around the corner. We do buy from them, but let's be conscious this time of our purchase. They were there at the street corner selling flowers, selling diyas, selling candles, and they were there at the apparel shop, at the mithai shop, and it's that small business that we wanted to support and bring a consciousness about it. I am extremely proud that for the first time during Diwali, we gave a gender responsive buying call.
We did. Nari se kharidari.
Yes, we had the government, we had society, we had companies such as yours all come together, amalgamate. I'm happy to share, and I'm told that we have only on your system close to 380 million impressions created. It is 3 Indians sitting in one room thinking up of an idea, believing that this is what India believes in. And India responded.
So the power of social media platforms to be able to handhold so many people and say that, let's come together, let's make this happen. We're a community. I mean, we're a community online as well. So thank you so much for that, ma'am. The other bit that, you know, we see women really celebrating right now is their role as creators online. They're coming forward as poets, telling their stories. Just by being there, you're a champion, you're an influencer.
I think Instagram allows me a creative space for myself, given my constitutional restrictions, just to be me. So I think that when you talk about influences on a platform like Instagram, it is to be said that all of us have a creative agency as individuals.
Me too.
And it gives us a mode or a medium of expression.
Everybody knows that you have a book out now, Just would love to hear from you a little bit more about the book, the creative journey.
Yeah, Lal Salam for me was a story which came a decade ago. The pandemic, between trying to run around and make PPE suits in the Ministry of Textiles and the time that I spent in Amethi, I wanted to pen it, and I did. The story has been churning in me for a decade now.
People like you set a really, a great role model for putting forth strong women sort of role models where people can feel like, they can walk the talk.
I think that I owe it because from the place that you are interviewing me from, I was born 5 kilometers from here in Lady Harding Hospital. I was born to parents who lived above a tabela after my birth with $150. My father sold books at the footpath opposite the Delhi Army Club in Dholakwa. And the fact that in 45 years I could come from that footpath to the Ministry of Women and Child Development talks about the possibilities that is a nation called India. So I owe it back to every girl who is still trying to figure out between her aspirations, her audacity, what she can do, that if I can get here, so can you. I think that the greatest gift that you can give to yourself as a human being is to still believe in yourself, not surrender yourself to the narrative that is created about you, and then still live that dream no matter what your age.
That's great. Once again, thank you so much for your presence in Fuel for India, and thank you so much for your time. I'm personally very grateful. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to your new avatar as an author.
Thank you.
Every day, hundreds of millions of people across India use WhatsApp to connect, share, learn, and transact. It is truly a privilege for us at WhatsApp to serve our users and help connect them with the people, information, and services that impact their lives. As all of us in India fought through the second wave of COVID, WhatsApp was the go-to medium for people to mobilize help and get support. Thousands of volunteers and organizations came together and scaled up to help one another through WhatsApp. Individuals, businesses, healthcare workers, doctors for teleconsultations, small businesses, local kirana stores, vegetable vendors, plasma donors, oxygen suppliers, the list is endless. As part of this program, we also supported the central and several state governments and civil society organizations to drive COVID relief efforts at scale. Let's hear from Sri Naveen Patnaik, Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha, and from Abhishek Singh, CEO of MyGov, talk about one example.
Government of Odisha is always focused on delivering efficient, accessible, and inclusive governance with an aim to transform citizen engagement in the state. Use of technology continues to be our most important lever in the 5T model of governance, launched in August 2009. We have been successfully innovating tech-driven solutions to drive impact at scale for the various administrative and public service delivery programs. I take immense pride in the way the Odisha government and the people of our state have embraced technology in the last 2 years, especially in our fight against COVID-19. Tech platforms such as the Odisha government's dedicated COVID WhatsApp chatbot has played an instrumental role in our citizen engagement since the beginning of the pandemic. So far, over 20 lakh people have accessed the solution to find the information that they need. We have also successfully leveraged WhatsApp API platform to drive awareness campaigns about COVID appropriate behavior and vaccination, which has reached over 1 crore people in the state. More recently, given the positive response we have received from the chat box, we launched additional use cases, including accessing RT-PCR test reports. I'm happy to be here at the fuel for India and thankful for WhatsApp app support in helping us to build a framework that we have now deployed across several other areas of governance in the state beyond health.
I'm excited to be here at the Fuel for India event and share how we at MyGov have innovated solutions that solve for the last mile with the help of easy to use tech platform of WhatsApp. I remember last year that the chatbot was launched in a record 5 days from the concept to the execution stage. When we began the chatbot, the main objective was to control misinformation regarding the pandemic and offer people a single source of truth that could be their go-to place for authoritative COVID-related information. Today, we have integrated the CoWIN APIs into the chatbot, and citizens can now locate their nearest vaccine centers, book their vaccine appointments, receive confirmation, and upon successful completion of the vaccination, they are able to also download their vaccination certificates. We are proud of this collaborative effort with the team at WhatsApp to develop a tech solution that is very easy to use, very simple, and it has resulted in a very positive impact over the last 18 months. I'm optimistic about the future and look forward to developing more tech solutions on WhatsApp that can improve and drive more efficiency, more effectiveness in government to citizen engagement across the nation.
Recently, we launched payments on WhatsApp, which we believe will play a significant role in enabling a more financially inclusive India in the next few years. With payments on WhatsApp, our mission is to provide seamless digital payments to our existing users and to further India's agenda of onboarding those who are not yet part of the digital payments ecosystem. Adoption of digital payments by the first 100 million plus people on UPI has been one of the global success stories from India. We hope that WhatsApp can help make that story go to a new level by helping onboard the next 500 million users to UPI, and the next 500 millions will be the ones who could benefit the most. Over the last year, our product teams have been focused on creating a great payments experience, one that makes payments as easy as attaching a photo on WhatsApp, based on the requirements and feedback directly from the Indian market. Recently, you would have seen that we placed India's rupee symbol within the main chat composer. In addition, UPI payments can be initiated in one click from the WhatsApp camera. RBI has stated that they want to make digital payments inclusive, accessible, and affordable to all Indians. And these are some of our efforts that we hope can accelerate that agenda. To put our theory into real practice, we have initiated a pilot project to digitally enable 500 villages. As part of this project, villagers will be able to onboard onto UPI and begin handling more of their daily transactions digitally. Let's see how first-time adopters of digital payments in the Mandya district in Karnataka are responding to the seamless, frictionless, and simplified payments experience on WhatsApp.
ಸಾಮಾನು ಯಾವಾಗ ತಂದು ಕೊಡ್ತೀಯೋ? ಐದು ತರ್ತೀನಿ ರಜೆ.
ಭಾರಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೀರ್ ಬಂದೈತೆ ಸುಬ್ಬ, ಭಾರಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನೀರ್ ಬಂದೈತೆ ಕಣಯ್ಯ. ಈ ಸತಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಯ್ತಾ ಇದೀಯ ನನ್ನ? ಚಪ್ಪಲಿನಾರು ಹಾಕತ್ತೀನಿ. ನೀ ಎಲ್ಗೂ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಸಿದ್ದಪ್ಪ, ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಬೋರ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗ್ ಬತ್ತಾ?
ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗ್ ಬಂತು, ಮಜಬೂತಾಗಿ ಬಂತು. ಒಂದ್ ಡಬ್ಬಿ ಮೈಸೂರು ಪಾಕು ಕೂಡ.
ಸರ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯ್ತು? ಸರ್ 470. ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ದು 620. ಓ ನೀವು ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ಪಾ?
ತುಂಬಾ ಸುಲಭ, ಈ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇ ಬೇಡ.
ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಹೋಗೋದೇ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ನ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡಿ.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯಾಂತದಲ್ಲಿ 1,000 ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ಇಂದ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡಕ್ಕೆ ತಯಾರಾಗ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ನೀವು ಫೋಟೋ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಫೋಟೋ ಕಳಿಸೋ ಥರನೇ ಟಕ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದೇ ಸೆಕೆಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರಿಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬೋದು, ಮಗನಿಂದ ದುಡ್ಡು ಇಸ್ಕೋಬೋದು, ಮಗಳಿಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬೋದು, ಹೆಂಗಾರ.
ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ತುಂಬ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತದೆ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಲ್ಲೂ ತುಂಬ ಟೈಮ್ ಹಿಡಿತದೆ. ಹಂಗೆ ATM ಬಂದರೆ ATMಲ್ಲೂ ದುಡ್ಡು ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ಪೇಮೆಂಟಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತದೆ.
ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅವರ ಲೊಕೇಶನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಅವರ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ನನಗೆ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ಪಲ್ಲೇ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಅವರ ಮನೆಗೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈಗ ದೆನ್ ನಮಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಪೇಮೆಂಟು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ಪಲ್ಲೇ.
ನಾನು 10 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯಿತು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿ ಪಾರ್ಲರ್ ಇಟ್ಟು. ಹಳೆ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರನೇ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ UPI ID ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹೊಸ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಮಗೊಂದು QR ಕೋಡ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಜನರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ದುಡ್ಡು ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಚಿಲ್ಲರೆ ಕೊಡೋದು ತಪ್ಪಿದೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಹೋಗೋದು ತಪ್ಪಿದೆ.
ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವರು ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಇಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ನಾನಿದ್ದಾಗ ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಏಕೆಂದರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರ್ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ.
ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾನು ಕಂಡಂಗೆ 14-15 ಲಕ್ಷ ರೂಪಾಯಿನ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಈಗ ₹1 ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ದೇನೆ ಬರೀ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಕುಂತಲ್ಲೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು.
And as you just saw, payments on WhatsApp can help to simplify and even change the trajectory of people's financial lives as well. The combination of UPI, coupled with the simple, reliable, intuitive, and multilingual user experience of WhatsApp, has created an opportunity of inclusion for all segments of India. WhatsApp can help onboard millions of people from the unorganized sector and the bottom of the pyramid to the digital payments ecosystem, helping accelerate the government of India's objective of creating a truly digitally and financially inclusive India. To talk more about how the next chapter of Digital India will be built, Ajit met with the Honorable Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar.
At Meta, we're excited about a technology-fueled future for India. And to discuss the same, I have the privilege to bring before you a very special guest. We have with us the Honorable Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology and for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. Even before his time as a minister, he's been at the forefront of the technology sector as the founder of BPL Mobile. In recent years, we have seen a determined shift in India's path to becoming a world leader in technology, espoused in the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of a digital India. Our discussion today is going to focus on the many possibilities that new and emerging technologies will bring to the people of India. With that, I would like to welcome Mr. Chandrasekhar to this discussion on building the next chapter of Digital India.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Chandrasekhar, you have spent all your life in technology, from work in chip design to your role as a pioneer in mobile technology, and then your role these last few years as a lawmaker with a very clear view on technology. What's different now from your early years in the sector, and what's different in India compared to what's happening in the rest of the world?
No, I think there is I think yes, of course, over the last 35 years, I've seen many things in technology and ups and downs and all of that. But I genuinely believe that from 2014, there has been an almost very different and a very complete approach to embedding technology into our economy. Before that, the narrative of technology was really centered around IT companies and growth of IT sector, and which is not a bad thing. But it was, in my opinion, one dimension of what was a very broad spectrum opportunity for technology. It's from 2014 onwards, after Prime Minister Modi launched Digital India, that technology as it relates to empowering the Indian, technology changing the lives of the Indian citizen came to the fore. And so if you see from 14 to 20, which is the time pre-COVID, we've made significant progress in the digitalization of government, digitalization of public services, and in a lot of ways put paid to this narrative that democracies are dysfunctional, the distance between the state capital and the citizen
often compromise democracies. And to that one very specific objective of Prime Minister Modi, that technology must bring change in the lives of the normal citizen, tremendous progress has been made. There are two other elements that have been growing after 2014, which is the expansion of the digital economy per se, which is entrepreneurship, employment, investments. And the third one is about creating strategic capabilities within India. I think on the second also we have made tremendous progress, but the sum of the first and the second has really come to the fore in terms of its outcomes and effects during the COVID. And in a lot of ways, there is the 14 to 20 period for technology in India and digital India, and then there is this 21 onwards, which I believe is going to be a very different, very much more deeper, very accelerated engagement with technology across these three areas that Prime Minister Modi originally envisaged digital India playing a role in. So for me as a technologist and later on as a public policy maker for technology, these have been very satisfying years, because really the narrative around technology doing good has really played up, in my opinion, to nearly its full potential. And I think there's more to do, but in the last 7 years we've made tremendous progress.
And I think you have the background of being an entrepreneur yourself. I'm curious how much of that experience is influencing the role today as a minister. How are you translating those learnings to the work today?
Look, I've been always a believer that while the state and the government have a role in policy making, and indeed some areas of strategic R&D and technology development and so on and so forth, in India, as in most other technology intensive economies, it is really the entrepreneur who will drive this. And drive the next stage of it and the continuing multiple stages of it, accelerate the growth, expand the economy. And really what we are seeing in India is exactly that. If today in the midst of the COVID pandemic, given the fact that we've had such a great economic record in terms of bouncing back from the COVID, due to Prime Minister Modi's very different approach to managing the economy compared to, let's say, the Western economies, and you're seeing these unicorns build and the tremendous amount of confidence and energy that you see in the startup ecosystem, it basically validates that in a sense, entrepreneurship is really the fuel, to borrow a phrase from your program, is the fuel for economic growth, prosperity and opportunity. And while it is not a binary that it's only entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship will be the big energy sort of a driver in how we expand the digital economy. And the digital economy, the ambition of the Prime Minister is that it will reach $1 trillion very soon, and there are multiple legs for it. But the common theme is that it is a combination of a government working in partnership with entrepreneurial energy, zeal, innovation and creativity that will be the formula for winning digital economy for India.
And I think to that theme, just shifting to the role of private companies like us, and a lot of the work that we do is around fueling entrepreneurship. We collaborated with METI around COVID vaccination bookings and certificates on WhatsApp.
Correct.
But what's your vision on how companies like us can collaborate with government and other public stakeholders to play a useful role in this transformation that you're driving?
So here is the thing, Ajit. The vision, I think at least I come from a school or a generation which helped build the internet, and we all saw the internet as this force of good. And over time we have also realized that the internet, like any other space, also has its challenges in terms of the bad that creeps in along with the good. My point of view, or from the government's point of view, what we want is not just to connect 1 billion Indians, this is what the Prime Minister has very clearly laid out, but that the internet should continue to be open. And there is a relevance to that phrase open, there's a significance to that. It is safe and trusted, and it is accountable to the people the principal stakeholders, the users and the consumers. So I think we will be full tilt in terms of partnerships with private sector companies such as yourself, other foreign companies, Indian companies, entrepreneurs. We will partner to expand the good, we would like the internet to be a force of good and to deliver access and equity and opportunity to every Indian. But we would also be very careful about ensuring that the internet remains free and open in terms of competitive pressures. It's not dominated by some big corporates. We also want to make sure that the intermediaries and the big platforms such as yourself or anybody we develop a culture of mutual respect and accountability between the platform and the user. And we also want to make sure that given that 1 billion Indians are going to be there, women, children, elderly, pensioners, all of them, that the internet is also safe and trusted. So the issue of cyber crime, cyber security, all of that.
And I think, Minister, as you know, that's an agenda that we fully share as well. Minister Chandrasekhar, thank you for this conversation, and we are delighted to be a partner in this journey of India's transformation.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commerce in India is undergoing a similar tectonic shift with emerging social technologies transforming the sector. Let's have a look.
Meesho was one of the first players in India to really recognize a new way of doing e-commerce on the back of social platforms almost 6 years back, and they've been a pioneer since. Welcome, Sanjeev. Sanjeev, so there is so much that we are hearing in the market on social commerce, especially over the last few years. As you continue to onboard and scale more merchants, many of whom are coming online for the first time, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how social commerce will evolve further in India.
Social commerce as a concept has existed in India in an offline format for a very long time. Women running boutiques out of their homes, selling it to their friends, family, etc. has existed forever probably. But one thing which has changed after all of this setup moving online is the scale of it. The next wave of e-commerce is going to be driven by people who are coming online for the first time. Facebook is enabling a lot of people to kind of transition to online, change that behavior.
আমি ডলি দে, আমি সোদপুরে থাকি। ঠিকই চলছিল সবই, তো গত অক্টোবর থেকে আমার হাজবেন্ডের হঠাৎ করে স্পাইনালে একটা ডিজিজ শুরু হয়। তো তারপর থেকে খুব প্রবলেমে চলছিল। তারপর আমরা চেন্নাইতে যাই ডিসেম্বর মাসে। ওখানে গিয়ে আমরা অপারেশন করিয়ে নিয়ে আসি। তারপর থেকে আমার 9 মাস প্রচন্ড ফিনান্সিয়াল প্রবলেম গেছে। তখনই আমাকে আমার পাশেরই একজন, ও ডেলিভারি বয়, মিশোর কোম্পানির থেকে ও ডেলিভার করে। ও আমাদের বলল যে তুই ঘরে বসে একটা অনলাইন বিজনেস কর, শুধু অ্যাপ ডাউনলোড করে এটা করলেই হয়। মিশো আমাকে হেল্প করেছে, সাপোর্ট করেছে, যে আমি এখান থেকে যাতে গ্রো আপ করতে পারি, কিভাবে জামা কাপড় শো আপ করতে হবে, সেগুলো আমাকে মিশোই দেখিয়ে দিয়েছিল।
We have our grand vision of enabling 100 million small businesses in India to succeed online. And a part of that success is also them trying to reach out to customers directly.
Right.
I think that is not possible without leveraging the power of Facebook as a platform. One such product which I think Facebook launched recently is that Facebook business extension, which I think enables SMBs, smaller suppliers, to kind of go ahead and run ads on Facebook.
Right.
WhatsApp can play a very important role there because WhatsApp is the de facto messaging platform in India.
Right.
So building a commerce layer on top of it, which enables them build that trust, be able to discover new products, new suppliers.
আশেপাশে বলো, দূরের বলো, এসছে যখন তোমার এখান থেকে অ্যাপ থেকে কাস্টমারের রিলেশনে এসছে, কিন্তু তারপর আস্তে আস্তে একদম ফ্রেন্ডলি হয়ে গেছে। এরকম একটা সম্পর্ক খুব ভালো তৈরি হয়েছে আমার সাথে। তো আমি চাই যে আরো গ্রো আপ করতে, ইভেন আমি আরো প্রচুর কাস্টমার যেন পাই, তো কাস্টমারের থেকে যাতে আমার সেলিংটা ভালো হয়, আরো তারা আমার থেকে পারচেস করে। আমি একটা ভালো জায়গায় পৌঁছাতে চাই এই বিজনেস থ্রুতেই, যেখান থেকে আমি আশা করি অনেক কিছু যেগুলো পসিবল নয় সেগুলোকে পসিবল করতে পারি।
I believe that this partnership is extremely important, not just Meesho but also this entire seller ecosystem to evolve over time.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Those were some amazing insights, and we look forward to continuing to bring to Meesho the best that our family of apps has to offer.
Thank you.
Thank
Same
you.
here.
So Meesho is a prime example of the kind of businesses Facebook is enabling with innovation at its core. And we believe it is the key to unlock the future of digital India. Here is a glimpse of how we are evolving a new pedagogy of STEM education through our partnership with CBSE.
जब मैं छोटी थी तो मुझे बहुत सारे टॉपिक्स के लिए टीचर बोलती थी विजुअलाइज इट। तो मेरी फिजिक्स की टीचर मुझे मोमेंट ऑफ इनर्शिया समझाने के लिए कहती थी कि एनालाइज करो, ये सेंटर ऑफ रोटेशन है और इसके अराउंड ऑब्जेक्ट को रोटेट करो। बट उस एज में मुझे ये समझ में ही नहीं आता था 3D ऑब्जेक्ट को कैसे रोटेट करना है और रोटेशन के बाद वो किस तरह का फिगर बनेगा।
The kids who are in nursery will be graduating in 2035. Our teaching needs to cater to the jobs of the future. Augmented reality is a visual learning because it helps children retain better as they are using multiple senses. AR-based learning is more inclusive as children having dyslexia, autism, ADHD, it helps them to retain better.
I can simply add sound. My kids can see the lightning and hear the thunder right in the classroom. Our chemistry teacher used this tool to explain how electrons are being shared between the atoms.
It blows my mind when I see some of my teachers adopting these technologies so well.
At CBSE, we never shied away from innovative teaching. CBSE and Meta partnerships is also one of its kind, through which last year we conducted several training programs on AR, and approximately 14,000 teachers engaged in this journey. The program is aligned with the National Education Policy 2020. It is going to help in making high quality STEM education available to the last mile. Our plan is to engage more than 1 million teachers very soon, and through them we'd like to connect to approximately 10 million students. Our collaborations with Meta is helping us transform STEM education and bring a small revolutions into every classroom. Immersive tech could be very well be the future occupations for many children.
The AR workshop by Meta has helped me to reach my full potential as a teacher.
I am hopeful that education in the metaverse would be captivating and engaging, and the students are going to have a mesmerizing learning experience.
We are thrilled to see how education is evolving with the use of AR and VR technologies. I'm delighted now to have Marnie with us to talk about our partnership with Jio and its potential to power the future of small shops in India.
Hi everyone, I'm Marnie Levine, Chief Business Officer at Meta. Thank you all for joining us for our second Fuel for India event. I'm so honored to be here with you all virtually and can't wait until the day I can get back to India in person. Truly, I cannot wait. As many of you know so well, India is in the midst of one of the most dynamic social and economic transformations the world has ever seen. Today, more than 700 million people in India now have access to the internet, and that access is fueling the creation of innovative new enterprises and connecting people in all new ways. India is rapidly becoming a global hub for innovation, leading the way and setting an example for so many other countries to follow, especially in a post-pandemic world. Our goal as a company has always been to enable new opportunities for businesses of all sizes, especially for the more than 63 million small businesses across India. They are the backbone of the economy, and they form the heart and soul of rural and urban communities alike. Now, throughout the pandemic, we've remained so inspired by how small business owners and entrepreneurs have taken this moment as a challenge to reinvent themselves. As the world shut down, businesses across India came online, many for the very first time. We continually hear from small businesses that WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram have created new opportunities for growth, whether that's using our apps to go direct to consumer or to reach across borders and go global. We're honored to play even a small part in the economic recovery story in India. But the real heroes are the resilient, optimistic, and ingenious small business owners and entrepreneurs that call India home. It's their spirit and their sheer hustle that keeps us inspired and pushes us to think about new ways we can do even more to support them. India is truly a place unlike any other, and we're continuously inspired and by the way this dynamic country continues to innovate, redefine horizons, and create new templates for the world to follow. We can't wait to see what's next. And with that, let me introduce you to two very special guests. Please join me in welcoming Isha Ambani, Director at Reliance Retail and Reliance Jio Platforms Limited, and Akash Ambani, Director and Head of Strategy at Reliance Jio Platforms Limited. Very warm welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here. How are you?
Thanks, Marnie. We're so good. We're excited to be here, and thank you for having us.
Hey, Marnie, the pleasure is ours. Thank you so much for having us over, and congratulations on the second milestone of Fuel for India.
Well, thank you so much. I have so many questions to ask you, so I'm just going to dive right in, if that's okay. Among Reliance Jio's many contributions to India, it's made affordable internet access available to millions of Indians today. And that has been truly revolutionary, both for people and for businesses. It's part of the reason our company has been so thrilled to partner closely together with you, because we both share a vision of empowering small businesses and entrepreneurs. And so first, I want to talk about the future of retail in India. How do you think our partnership has been able to deliver on our shared goals, particularly in the midst of the pandemic?
Yeah, of course, Marnie. I mean, super interesting question, I think. And, I think it's fortunate that both Meta and us, we believe that small businesses are really the bedrock of our country's economic backbone. And, the pandemic really brought home the truth that small merchant shops, retailers, and small businesses urgently needed to convert their physical brick and mortar stores to digital storefronts. And for us, it really meant an acceleration of delivering our responsibility to enable them digitally. We're glad that through the power of our partnership, we could decide to quickly leverage the strength of the WhatsApp platform that provides access to over 400 million people. With an equal number of Jio subscribers, it seemed like a natural progression for us to be able to support these businesses, not only through a digital connection with our customers online, but also to quickly develop and build very specific digital commerce solutions for them.
Yeah, and just to put some numbers into it, Mani, we currently have over 500,000 retailers and is growing every day. We were very clear that the JioMart's unmatched network, both in online and offline retail, should be leveraged optimally. Given the size of the opportunity, we continue to be so excited with our partnership with Meta, and in collaboration with the WhatsApp team, we intend to build out native features that will help the entire value chain of users, shoppers who could seamlessly shop on WhatsApp, but also retailers increase their stock assortments, improve their margins, and get them closer to perhaps a larger customer base that they've never touched before. They will be able to get new orders in addition to keeping the existing relationships with the regular base intact.
Yep. And, Marnie, as you know, for Akash and I personally, this is of great personal significance because it means that we're moving closer to my father's vision of enabling millions of small retailers to become digital first via Jio and JioMart, which for us is a really, really big motivating factor.
Well, I love that. I love that so much. It's such an inspiring vision, and I think it's truly a valuable partnership. JioMart is not only adding value to businesses, but also having material socioeconomic impact. And small merchants, or kiranas, have been the backbone of India's economy for ages. So I love the vision. I love how big and bold it is, and I love the value that it provides to so many. And as more and more of the kiranas and small businesses join the world of digital commerce, how has this transformed the shopping experience for consumers?
The JioMart experience through WhatsApp is actually very simply put conversational in nature, which all WhatsApp users are used to. WhatsApp is an extremely simple and easy to use, so there's absolutely no customer inhibition when ordering for supplies. It's extremely intuitive, so there are no barriers to technology. And digital shopping is now just an extension of messaging via WhatsApp to JioMart. It's all taken care of in a couple of steps effortlessly. Really, it's a revolution in customer ease.
Yeah, all a customer really needs to do is just order away on JioMart. Butter, bread, vegetables, beverages, anything that you would need in your household that day or week. look up a product, set up a subscription for a regular buy if that's what you want, and get personalized recommendations based on your past purchase history. It's all there. And maybe what might be most useful to do at this point is just show you how easy and stress-free this really is for our consumers.
मैं ना सब कुछ ही व्हाट्सएप पे कर लेती हूँ, जैसे किसी को वीडियो कॉल करना हो या फिर बर्थडे विशेस भेजनी हो। अच्छा केक काटेगी तो मुझे वीडियो कॉल करना फिर से। और जब से जियो मार्ट आया है ना व्हाट्सएप पे, मैं घर का सारा सामान भी यहीं से मंगा लेती हूँ। बहुत यूजफुल है। जैसे कल शाम को कुछ दोस्त आए थे घर पे, तो उनके लिए चाय नाश्ते का सामान मैंने यहीं से मंगा लिया और तुरंत आ भी गया। अगर कुछ भूल भी जाओ तो आराम से सर्च कर सकते हो। बस जियो मार्ट को व्हाट्सएप पे हाई टाइप करो और प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व।
Well, that's incredible. It really is incredible. It's so simple, it's easy, and it's convenient for consumers. But I know it takes a ton of hard work and deep collaboration to make that experience happen, and to do it at a time when nothing was normal. So let me just say thank you and congratulations to you, Isha, Akash, and to everyone at Jio for making JioMart a reality and for trusting us in that partnership. We're so proud of this work, truly. I want to pivot slightly and talk about Jio's strong subscriber base. Jio Mobile has brought millions of people access to affordable data plans. As we've said, that access has been transformational. There's just no other way to say it. But a plan has to be more than just affordable for consumers to really rely on it. It has to also be convenient to use and easy to access. And this is another area where we've seen a lot of potential to partner together. A majority of mobile phone users in India are on prepaid recharge formats, which basically means that people pay for their phone usage rentals on the go. So I'd love to hear more about how Jio Mobile Recharge is operating through WhatsApp and how it's making that experience easier for people.
Mani, I'm so glad that you brought up this question. You know, as Jio and Meta teams have been working closely together, we are opening more and more avenues where we can partner. And one such avenue that we're going to roll out very, very soon is the Jio on WhatsApp prepaid recharge only. This will bring consumers convenience like they've never had before. There's no better way to demonstrate what we're going to talk about rather than show the customers how this will transform their lives. Let us walk through a life of a Jio consumer on WhatsApp.
वैसे मेरी मेमोरी काफी शार्प है, लेकिन मोबाइल रिचार्ज करने के मामले में हमेशा स्नूज बटन दबा देता हूं। ओहो, रिचार्ज का लास्ट दिन है आज। अपने रिचार्ज के साथ लगे हाथ घर वालों का भी झट से रिचार्ज हो जाता है, वो भी सिर्फ एक व्हाट्सएप स्टिकर से। ये सब इतना आसान और टेंशन फ्री है कि बस मिनटों में हो जाता है।
Convenience at the fingertips of millions. I love it. Related to this, payments through WhatsApp are now live on the UPI platform. And I feel like the Jio Mobile recharge process could become even simpler for people as a result. Is this your thinking as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes it very simple for anybody to adopt. For example, for older citizens who at times may find it difficult to step outside, this Jio recharge feature through WhatsApp is so helpful. And payments on WhatsApp just adds to the ease of it all.
It's really exciting how the end-to-end experience of recharge through WhatsApp, along with the ability to make payments, can potentially make the lives of millions of Jio subscribers much more convenient.
I couldn't agree more. Akash and Isha, thank you. It's been so wonderful chatting with you. There's so much exciting transformation happening in India right now, and we're grateful to be partnering so closely with you and Jio. Like you, we believe we're at an inflection point in India's growth, and I can't help but be inspired about the potential that lies ahead to help more businesses grow and to create greater social and economic opportunity across the country. So thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you the very, very best. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Marnie. Thank you. It was our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Mani. It's our pleasure. And congratulations once again for your second milestone event of Fuel for India.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mani. Whether in retail, education, or commerce, India is creating important building blocks for the next version of the internet, the metaverse. And to talk more about what the metaverse means for people and the opportunities it will unlock in the future, we are now joined by Mark and Vishal.
I'm excited to be here for the second year now. I hope everyone is doing well and staying healthy. And these last couple of years have been a challenging time for a lot of people, and I look forward to the time when I can travel to India again and join you all in person. Last year, I spoke about how important India is for our company and for the internet more broadly. And today, I'm excited to talk more about the next chapter for the internet. And I'm really excited about the role that India will play in building this future. And that's because India's talent pool, the engineers, developers, and creators, and your whole vibrant startup ecosystem are playing a huge role in shaping the future. Really, we already are here. India is on track to have the largest app developer base in the world by 2024, and already has one of the largest Spark AR developer communities. The online gaming sector in India has seen a lot of growth over the past few years, and our investment in gaming in the country keeps growing as we look to how it's going to take shape in the metaverse. And we're investing in other growing areas like education and commerce through Unacademy and Misho, which are important use cases as we think about the future that we're building. We want to continue to partner in all of these areas as we accelerate the development of the fundamental technologies, the social platforms, and creative tools that are going to be necessary to bring the metaverse to life. So today, Vishal Shah is going to join me. And he heads up our metaverse work and brings a lot of insights about India into our product development process and efforts. And I look to him for his unique perspectives as we build products that will deliver the sense of presence in new ways over the next years to come. So with that, welcome, Vishal.
Thanks, Mark. I'm really excited to be here. I think it actually might be helpful to take a step back. How do you define the metaverse, and why are you so excited about it?
Well, I think that the metaverse is going to be the successor to the mobile internet. It's this immersive internet or embodied internet where you're in it rather than seeing it, right? So rather than, an internet where you look at documents or you look at something that's on your phone, this is going to be an internet where you feel like you're there and you're present with people and in other places. And, I think it's this continuation of the technological trend that we've seen over the last few decades. Right? When I started Facebook back in the day, the main way that we connected online was through text, right? We typed text into the keyboard into a browser. And then, since then, we got phones that had cameras. And since then, the main way that we're sharing online has been visual. And then, as the internet connections got a lot better, now we can all share and consume a lot of video on our phones and not just images. So you've gone from text to photos to videos. It's gotten more immersive and more natural, but I don't think we're at the end of the line. I think the next phase of all of this is going to be even more immersive, and that's why we're investing so much in these technologies that help deliver the sense of presence and immersion. And, I know one example that we've talked about is, just to illustrate this is like, all right, imagine you're with your friends and you're at a cricket game. Let's say you're just at home, right? But you can, rather than watching this on TV, which is the current thing that you can do today, you can put on a headset and you can feel like you're right there, right in the front row seat, or right near the action. You can feel like you're there with a friend, even if they're in another city or another part of the world, and you can feel like you're immersed in the action. And I think that sense of presence is very different from anything that any other technology that we have delivers. Video chat and things like that, they're nice. It's nice to be able to see you on the screen, but it's but I don't think anyone's fooled that it doesn't feel to me or probably to you like we're actually in the same place. It's nice that I can see you, but the technology that will actually make it feel like we're together, this real sense of presence, there's something magical about that, and that's what all of this is going to deliver.
Yeah, I think we've talked for a while about how, these experiences get more natural, more human. You know, from keyboards to mice to touchscreens to something that you feel like you're in, and so it's a lot more natural. So the cricket example is a great one because it's doing something you love, it's entertainment, but with your friends. What are some of the other experiences that you think might benefit from some of this more immersive technology?
Well, I think that the metaverse is going to shape almost everything that we do on the internet today and more, right? So some of the use cases that I'm really excited about, first, just kind of hanging out with your friends, right? It's, when I think about, if we were starting the company today, rather than starting by building a social network, I think we would start by building immersive experiences for people to feel present in the metaverse, where that's the next frontier of people just connecting and socializing. Around that, there's a lot of forms of entertainment. So gaming is the big one today, but then you have things like concerts and sports. That'll be a big deal. Then you're going to have things like fitness, which are sort of in between entertainment, but also something that's more active. That I think is interesting because it's not really something that you do on your phone or with your computer today. Fitness, but you can kind of think about the model. It's almost like Peloton or something. With some of these companies, you have a treadmill or a bike, and then you can have lessons. That's a really exciting experience that a lot of people are doing. And now you can do that with your VR headset or whatever the technology ends up being. You just put it on and you can do boxing lessons or dancing lessons. And that's a category that's taking off that I think has been pretty surprising. In terms of others, I think work is going to be a big one. Right, it's just like we're all doing a lot of video chat, and we spend a lot of hours a day sitting in front of computers working. I think that's going to be a lot better in the metaverse when you can actually feel like you're physically present together for meetings, and you just have your perfect workstation wherever you go. Whether it's like you go to a coffee shop or you're just at home, you can just snap your fingers and have as many monitors as you want up. I think that's going to be pretty awesome. And then I think that there are going to be use cases around education and training. I just heard this week Stanford University, and right near our headquarters in California, is going to be doing a course all in virtual reality in the upcoming class. So I think that's going to be super interesting. We've also seen examples where medical programs have trained surgeons. I think that there was a particular example around knee surgery where they basically allowed the surgeons who were training to do surgeries on a big blown up 3D model, and those surgeries that those surgeons went on to do, I think, had better results than the ones who just learned through lectures. So whether it's training or education, I think that's going to be really exciting. And then finally, I know one area that you and I talk about a lot is commerce, right? Because in order for this to all work, this isn't going to get built by any one company or even a small number of companies. We're going to need to empower millions of creators around the world, and that's, I think, what we're so excited about seeing here in India too, is either the developer ecosystem, the ecosystem of individual entrepreneurs. The spirit around that is one of the it's one of the things that makes India so special. Is I think we're going to see a huge amount of this stuff get built here in India. In order for that to work, we basically need to make it so that there can be a variety of economic models. People can charge for things, there can be advertising, there can be subscriptions, but we're going to need to basically build this economy where millions of creators can build content and virtual goods, because at the end of the day, it's not like a company that's going to build the metaverse. It's going to be all of these different people participating in it.
Yeah, I think that the creator and commerce opportunity is super interesting. I want to come back to that in just a second. Just to hit on the point you talked about with education, there's stuff happening in universities all around the world, but there's also some work that we're doing as a company to help. Like here in India, working with the Central Board of Secondary Education to bring AR training to teachers and students. We just started.
Yeah, this is a really exciting announcement.
Yeah, we're gonna try to bring this education to more than 10 million students and 1 million teachers. And the idea that starting from an educational place of building for the future, building from an early age and understanding how to think about these new environments is something that people are finding out on their own, but we're really trying to help bring some of this curriculum to more people around the world.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that partnership, and I think it's just a huge opportunity to see it's this entrepreneurial spirit and bringing some of these tools around the metaverse and VR and training to the education system here in India. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about this and glad we're working on this.
Yeah, I totally agree. So on commerce and creators, we've said very publicly that we expect, over the course of the next 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, we think billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars of digital commerce will exist, and hopefully create opportunities for millions of creators to make a living doing creative work. And I think that's really important. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you're thinking about, creativity as a way of making a living and how that might all come to life?
For one thing, I think we start off with this belief that the metaverse isn't going to be created by any one company or even a small number of companies. I think it has to be built in this bottom-up way where companies like us can, I think, help to accelerate the development of fundamental technologies and social platforms and some of the commerce platforms to enable creators. But at the end of the day, all of the content, right, the worlds, the virtual goods, the games, the experiences, that's going to be built by distributed set of people all around the world. And in order to support that development and that art and creativity, there need to be economic models around that. So I think at a high level, we have a sense of what some of those things might be. Or people will sell virtual goods. They'll run advertising in some of their experiences. They'll have subscriptions. But I think we also want to approach this with humility that, let's say we were at the start of the mobile internet. I think people didn't really have a sense of what exactly was going to work. So, but today, with the internet, you have so many people and so many different models have emerged than what people kind of expected at the beginning when smartphones were starting to come out. So I think we're going to see something kind of similar to that here. But the scale of the bottom-up, creator-led development, I think is just going to be much bigger than what we've seen on the internet today, because we're reaching a point where it's starting to get a lot easier for individuals or startups to create these compelling experiences, and you don't need to be a huge company to do that. So that's really exciting, and I think if we can get to the point where this is, I think, not just about the metaverse or technology, but I think that this can be a much more positive economic vision for the world overall. If we could get to a point where you have millions of people or tens of millions of people engaging in more creative work that they're more excited about than maybe the jobs that they have today, I think that'll be awesome, right? It's not just going to create this whole industry where the experiences are amazing because there's such a diversity of kind of experience and new things that are getting created, but it's also just going to I think it's just going to be a more exciting and inspiring world for a lot of people. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm curious, are there any particular models that that you want to make sure that we touch on here?
Well, I think the idea of the individual creator being able to figure out how to make a living is the most exciting for me. We've talked about that here in India. You actually mentioned some of the work we do with Spark and some of the creators there. I know we have Varun Riker is one of the creators that we work with, and his effect has been used millions of times. Now, that's something that exists in our mobile apps today, and that we're trying to build a foundation for the metaverse going into the future. But the idea that an individual creator can find an audience from anywhere around the world is very powerful. And this exists in ways in our apps today, but I think the idea that this is built into the economy that we want to go build into the metaverse is a pretty important fundamental starting position. So whether that's about advertising, whether that's about selling digital goods, it could even be about services. Like, what jobs could exist in the metaverse that don't really make sense in the physical world? Could you hire someone to come and decorate your home world? That really only makes sense in a fully digital environment. If you're playing a game and you're stuck on a level, could you find someone to come and help you beat that level together? I think that's also a new kind of opportunity. And the fact that someone from anywhere in the world, regardless of the geographic opportunities available to them, can find a way to make a living is really powerful. And I think that's very consistent with what we've been doing as a company, both more broadly, but even here in India in supporting the next generation of small business. It's interesting. We've been talking about the future in a bunch of ways, and I think that's great. It's important to know where we are today also in terms of being on this journey. There are already millions of creators in India who are using our apps and using our services to build a community, find new audiences, and monetize. I spent the last 6 years working on Instagram and spent a lot of time here in market thinking about the creative ecosystem and how people are using Instagram to tell their story. And I'm really proud of the work we've been doing in Reels, where every day right now there are more than 6 million Reels made in India. It's 35% year-over-year growth in the number of the creators who are monetizing and publishers who are creating opportunity for themselves in the Facebook app. And like you said, the metaverse will remove some of these physical constraints and make it possible for entirely new business to exist. And so I think it's really important that we're talking about this early. We're bringing creators along every step of the way. We're leaning into the products we have now, but also thinking about the future. So it's the work in Spark, it's the curriculums that we've talked about to help people build these 3D objects and put them into the world. And we're doing that, with the Board of Secondary Education, with Coursera, with edX, and we're setting aside $150 million to train the next generation of creators to really build this immersive learning content and increase access to all these devices. And I think that comes from us learning so much about building a global platform and reaching people all over the world. So I think one thing that's important to think about here is how we've learned over the years on what it means to build a safe and responsible way. How are we thinking about that from a metaverse perspective, with safety, with privacy, some of the lessons that we've learned globally, and how are we thinking about that now?
Yeah, well, I think that this has certainly been an area that, as a company, we've focused on just a huge amount more over the last 5 years. I mean, these concepts around safety and privacy, they've been things that we've focused on since the beginning of the company, but I think especially since 2016, we've just dramatically increased the level of effort that we've put into this, to the point that I think we're now investing more than $5 billion a year in safety and security. We have more than 40,000 people working on those programs, and I think we're pretty clearly the industry leaders at this point in terms of being able to have AI systems that can identify all of the 20 different categories of harmful content and drive down the amount of that content that we're seeing on our platforms. I mean, basically, no other company has the tools that we have, and I'm really proud of the progress that we've made. In retrospect, I wish that we'd done that level of effort from the beginning when we were designing some of these social media apps, and we have the opportunity to do that here with the metaverse, which we're really trying to do by setting out the vision about what we think this can be years before it's actually going to fully materialize. So that gives us the opportunity to work with other companies in the industry to set open standards for how things should evolve, and work with civil society and regulators and governments around the world on these standards, and to engage the questions that people have, as well as just taking some of the leading work that we've done around safety and privacy and building a platform so people can bring their data around, and taking those lessons and building that in from the beginning to the foundation of at least the parts of the technology that we're going to build for the metaverse. I think that's setting that stable foundation from the beginning is going to be a really important thing, and I think one of the big lessons we've learned from the last chapter or the current chapter of the internet before the next one.
Yeah, I think the idea that we're talking about this so early and engaging with other companies, with regulators, with policymakers, and bringing them along on the journey. Oftentimes, technology has a way of kind of catching people by surprise, and we're trying to have that conversation as early as possible to be able to get ahead of that. Maybe as a way to end here, Mark, you've been pretty vocal about India's potential overall. What about the market really excites you? What opportunity does India present for our future vision for the metaverse?
Well, the reason why India is so exciting to me, I guess it's really two things that combine together to be something pretty special. It's the spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit, combined with the scale of what can happen, right? So I think that is just this huge thing, which I think is what is fueling a lot of the internet economy in India already, but I think makes me so optimistic about the future, and I think makes people here so optimistic about the future here, is you just see all this stuff happening, and it's just like, okay, this is amazing, and it's just going to keep going. So when we're thinking about what the next generation is going to look like in terms of where are all these creators and developers going to come from who are going to really build the foundation of the metaverse, I think it's just obvious that India is going to be a huge part of that. And as we're thinking through what we do to basically build some of these foundational tools and the core technologies around this, that's why we're here. That's why we do this event. I mean, India is the biggest country in the world that already uses the social media services that we use, and on Facebook and WhatsApp for sure, and Instagram is growing incredibly quickly, and we just want to make sure that we can basically do our part to continue unlocking this potential, because I just think it's the experiences that people build here are going to make people's lives better all around the world, and I just think that that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think speaking from my own background, the spirit of the entrepreneurial spirit of the country is certainly very strong. We've got I think the latest numbers, over 65 unicorns in India in 2021. We just announced a partnership with Uber and WhatsApp, and so we're certainly leaning into some of the exciting work we're seeing in the market. And I think the opportunity is incredibly broad, and I completely agree with you. So I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation and share it with this really important market. And we'll hand it back to Ajit for the closing.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Vishal. See you soon.
Thanks, Mark.
So that brings us to the end of this year's Fuel for India. We are proud to be a part of India's story, driving impact, unleashing expression, fostering inclusion, and fueling a future of immense possibilities. And we are energized by the vision that we have set for ourselves and India's role in it, helping build the next chapter of the internet. And the same question that we are trying to answer for ourselves is the question I have for you too. What does the future hold for you? See you next year.
Rolling है.
Yeah, you're kidding.
Oh, hey, that's a nice smile.
गजब का है दिन.
क्या ही बताऊं मैं? Oh, I have a full bucket list.
A lot of happiness. I'm very content with myself.
I think I'll be working with rural communities, working for best of the product and marketing technologies.
Get more and more craftspeople connected with us.
From the communities, businesses, my family, I'm very optimistic about where we're headed.
I like to keep it unpredictable. I'll let it come to me, whatever it is.
आगे फ्यूचर में अगर सब कुछ अच्छा रहा तो शायद मैं इंडिया के स्टेज पे जाके अपना टैलेंट दिखाना चाहती हूँ.
आंनि मोखांथिना खादुंसुआनि या संना खादुंसुआनि नमगोबा रामा जालांरांखौ नाङा आरो ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ನಂಗೆಲ್ಸ.
ನನ್ನ ಆಸೆ ಬಂದು ನನ್ನ ಮಗನಿಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ವಿದ್ಯಾಭ್ಯಾಸ ಕೊಡಿಸಬೇಕು.
इन फ्यूचर मैं खुद को मेल गेमिंग क्रिएटर्स के लेवल पे देखना चाहती हूँ.
I want a world where a woman has choice.
And I think my future holds making something happen for all these people.
My future holds in building a better future for everyone.
मेरे हिसाब से तो फ्यूचर में खतरनाक ही होने वाला है. जो भी होगा हंसे मचाएंगे.
Ang so water supply kani ko ananga.
My future would look like building more and more reality experiences, and I am learning that and advancing with it.
New ways of being human.
If sufficient energy is available in Nagaland, they can generate employment and also generate income for their family, for the villages.
I've always believed that I want to be the change I want to see.